The US Army was fighting bravely against magical creatures from a dangerous place called the World of Chaos. They were the last line of defense. The soldiers tried using special weapons designed for expert hunters, but these weapons were too difficult for regular soldiers to use effectively. These weapons needed people with special training to work properly. The magical creatures quickly defeated the soldiers.
Hoosh, 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 hoosh.
The soldiers who were still alive retreated and kept shooting, but they couldn't stop the creatures. Trying to fight them with swords was impossible. The people didn't know what to do. A loud screeching sound filled the air. After finishing their first meal, the bugs turned toward new targets. There was no escape. The serious team leader looked at his team members, and they nodded in agreement. The soldiers had been getting ready for this since they were told to hold their position while people got to safety. Their leader took out a grenade and removed the safety clip. The bugs seemed to sense something was happening and quickly ran toward their leader, acting very strangely and wildly. They made a loud screeching sound as they came closer. The leader froze, looking scared as the bugs rushed toward him. They got to him very quickly and opened their mouths to bite. But just before they could, someone jumped in front of the leader of the group. This person grabbed the grenade from his hand and used their body to block the bugs. The leader looked up, surprised at a man who was much taller than he was. Thomas smiled and quickly turned around, pushing the grenade into the mouth of the closest bug. It wouldn't really hurt the creature, but it would definitely be surprised to find something strange inside its stomach. Thomas quickly punched the bug's head. The headless body fell to the ground some distance away. Oh, well, I guess it didn't have time to be surprised. Thomas shrugged his shoulders. Behind him, the best hunters ran forward to help. Screeching sounds filled the air, as the hurt bug-like creatures cried out. The American soldiers who were still fighting started to smile when they realized who had come to save them. It's Scavenger. It's the Scavenger Guild. Thank goodness. The Scavenger Guild quickly and easily took care of the problem, just like everyone expected from the world's best hunters. There wasn't time to rest because even more magical creatures were coming. Thomas looked at the large group. He saw orcs, ogres, trolls, minotaurs, cyclopses, and many other creatures he had fought in dungeons before. Even with so many, he thought this would be easy. But there was one creature that was very strong and powerful among all the others. Thomas held back because he knew the creature wouldn't act while he was there. The powerful magical beast watched them for a moment before slowly stepping closer. So you're the weak one almost defeated by the Fang Monarch. The king of monstrous humanoids gave a cruel smile. The Fang Monarch was strong and skilled at hunting wild beasts. The king of monstrous humanoids ruled over monsters that looked similar to people, like orcs and ogres, and he was best at fighting up close. When he saw the small human flexing his arms, he thought it was very funny. The Iron Body Monarch sent out his energy, hoping to surprise Thomas and end the fight quickly. He was sure he could win with just a flick of his hand. Thomas didn't seem scared at all, unlike the hunters standing behind the monarch. What was the human planning? This ought to work, Thomas said quietly. Then a dark shadow began to spread from his feet, covering the ground around them. The monarch's eye flickered. Shadows. That was a power the Shadow Monarch had. But the Iron Body Monarch should have felt it nearby. Then, a familiar voice spoke behind Thomas. It has been a long time, King of Monstrous Humanoids. Grand Marshal Bellion's polite words didn't hide his sharp tone. Behind him, 13,000 shadow soldiers stood up from where they had been hiding in Thomas's shadow. They had been waiting there, trying not to be noticed. It was a trap. The 13,000-strong shadow army, brought back to life by the Shadow Monarch, had hidden within the human's shadow, making it hard to detect them. Standing before the shadow army, the Iron Body Monarch felt confused, like he had fallen into a deep hole. He had been tricked. The army he was leading wasn't strong enough to fight the Shadow Army, and with Bellion and Igris in charge, the Iron Body Monarch was now in danger himself. This was likely the Shadow Monarch's plan all along. I need to tell everyone else. He quickly tried to reach the Dragon King, but something was blocking his message. Could it be was the Shadow Monarch responsible for this too? The monarch quickly looked over the army to find what was blocking his thoughts. He saw a powerful orc shaman standing near Igris, holding a special charm and chanting a spell. Fang, now a high-ranking soldier after becoming a shadow soldier, was stopping the monarch from using his mind powers, and a magical object helped him do it. Fang's face turned red when he looked at the king he used to serve, but he couldn't help smiling as he continued chanting. The king of monstrous humanoids was very angry at the smirk he saw. How dare you? This wasn't how the Shadow Monarch usually acted, and it wasn't how his army fought. The Shadow Army always faced its enemies directly and warned them of what was coming. All this hiding and sneaking around was new. It was because of the human who was now working with them. The current Shadow Monarch was changing the way the war was fought, and it seemed like his human side was influencing things. Where was his pride as a ruler? The very strong iron body ruler made his muscles grow bigger and bigger, and his veins stood out. He shouted, "He doesn't deserve to be a ruler." He quickly appeared in front of Fang, but Baru stepped in the way. They clashed, each trying to push the other back. The Ant King stared at the king of monstrous humanoids, and made a hissing sound. "Take back what you said. You won't get away with being rude to our leader." But the Iron Body Monarch pushed Baru's arms hard and shouted, "How could a simple soldier block a monarch like me?" Screech. Baru let out a very loud cry as he suddenly grew much bigger. The Dragon King had seen soldiers from the world of chaos being defeated, because he didn't act quickly enough, and he also noticed the Shadow Army was getting larger. When he walked through the gate, his eyes were full of anger. He immediately looked at Jinwoo, who was in the middle of a huge battle against the armies of chaos. The Dragon King wanted to defeat Jinwoo more than anything. He didn't even change his shape before breathing out a powerful blast of energy. Whoosh! Jinwoo, who was fighting magic beasts, saw the bright flash just in time. "It's him." Jinwoo jumped away quickly, and the soldiers from both armies were caught in the Dragon King's blast. They disappeared into nothing. Whoosh! Jinwoo landed nearby. The Dragon King halted his attack and looked at the human. Behind him, many gates opened, and different dragons and dragon-like creatures came out. These creatures were the main soldiers in the Dragon King's army. He was known as the Monarch of Destruction. Their army, strong enough to cause great damage everywhere, had gathered to defeat the Shadow Monarch. Jinwoo had trouble breathing as he felt the huge and never-ending power coming from the Dragon King. When the Dragon King gave the order, the Shadow soldiers quickly moved back, standing behind Jinwoo, like the army facing them. The Dragon King smiled in a way that showed he thought he would win. "Is this all of your army?" Jinwoo had quickly gathered a few thousand soldiers for his army, but the other side had almost 1,000,000 soldiers, hundreds of dragons, and even the Dragon King himself. Jinwoo knew the two armies were very different, so he had a plan. Attack. Jinwoo told his army to move forward. The Dragon King couldn't believe what he was seeing. Was this human still trying to fight, even with such a large army facing him? The human must be crazy. But there the Shadow soldiers were, crashing into the army of destruction. The dragons breathed powerful flames toward them. Whoosh! Surprisingly, when the fire hit the Shadow soldiers, they vanished like dust, instead of healing themselves. The Dragon King knew right away they were only trying to delay things. Where is he? He used his power to find the Shadow Monarch running away, following his shadow. The Dragon King laughed at the weak attempt. Jinwoo was probably trying to quickly attack and retreat from the soldiers of the world of chaos, but his plan had a big problem. Nothing could stop the Dragon King from chasing him. He followed the connection of Jinwoo's shadow to the west side of the battlefield. There he is. Jinwoo wouldn't be able to escape the Dragon King's grasp. The Dragon King stepped through a special gate that led to the battlefield. On the other side, 13,000 shadowy soldiers were waiting. But there was more. Jinwoo was waiting too. "Get up," he commanded. The army of chaos, which had been defeated before Jinwoo arrived, stood up and joined the shadowy soldiers. The Dragon King looked at the shadow soldiers, now almost 200,000 strong. "Is this what you wanted?" Jinwoo had brought him to this place hoping the smaller shadow army could win. The Dragon King laughed and shook his head. How sad. He finally understood what the Shadow Monarch wanted. Even though they had lost the Western Front, it was worth it if they could defeat Jinwoo. He would happily give up half his soldiers just to do that. Fear comes from not knowing what will happen. But now the Shadow Monarch's plan was clear. "My fellow monarch," the Dragon King smiled. Jinwoo thought he was the only one who would try to stop them, but he was mistaken. The strongest mage among the monarchs was helping the Dragon King. The Transfiguration Monarch had been waiting for this chance and created many doorways. These doorways connected different parts of the battlefield. letting lots of soldiers from the world of chaos come and fight against the Shadow Army. It was a clever plan that put Jinwoo and his army in a difficult position. Jinwoo's plan failed and he thought he was going to be defeated. The Dragon King made fun of him, saying you lost. But for a quick moment, Jinwoo smiled back. He had a surprise. Everything happened exactly as the Shadow Monarch expected. The Dragon King noticed Jinwoo's smile. You're laughing. In that instant, the shadow soldiers disappeared into their leader's shadow as he called them back. What was he thinking? It was almost certain death to do that. He also couldn't escape quickly without his soldiers protecting him. Even though he didn't want anyone to get hurt, running away and leaving himself unprotected was a very risky plan. Before Jinwoo could react, the Dragon King and his army moved forward. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers ran through the gates and quickly moved toward the Shadow Monarch. As the Dragon King got close and reached out his arm, Jinwoo's eyes changed to look like a dragon's. The Dragon King suddenly understood that something was seriously wrong. Time seemed to slow down. A powerful roar that made weaker creatures feel hopeless burst out from deep inside Jinwoo. Roar. It was Dragon's Fear, a skill Jinwoo learned from a special stone, and one of the most dangerous abilities a dragon could have. At first, Jinwoo didn't really care about the skill, because it affected everyone, even his friends. But things had changed now. The skill Kamish used to trap many strong hunters was now being used against the dragons. Because the Shadow Monarch gave the skill a lot of power, only the Dragon King was strong enough to resist its effects. After stopping his other enemies, Jinwoo caught the Dragon King's arm. How dare you? The Dragon King frowned. Jinwoo smiled and held on tighter. You are coming with me. A dark shadow spread from under Jinwoo's feet, surrounding the Dragon King. The powerful creature was surprised. Was this what Jinwoo had planned all along? He had come alone to this place, sent his shadow army to take care of the other enemies, and tricked the Dragon King into coming here. All for this moment. The Dragon King had to admit defeat because of the enemy's smart plan. The Shadow Monarch had forced the Dragon King into a difficult situation where he had no other options. By using an obvious trick to make the Dragon King let down his guard, the Shadow Monarch had gotten him to appear exactly where he wanted. And on top of that, he even used Dragon's Fear. The Dragon King had been outsmarted. Jinwoo saw the Dragon King looked upset, and squeezed his arm tighter. It worked. Jinwoo had planned everything carefully, he just needed to take a few more steps. A dark shadow surrounded Jinwoo and the Dragon King, and then quickly moved them to where they needed to be. Now that he had safely brought the Dragon King to the battlefield, Jinwoo quickly moved away. The Dragon King, now alone without his soldiers, looked around curiously. Where are we? A very far place. It wasn't exactly the farthest place on Earth, but they had traveled across an ocean, so they were very far from where they started. They were in Japan, a place filled with powerful energy after the King of Giants was defeated. This energy made the land and air strong, so it could probably handle a fight with a very dangerous enemy. Soldiers working in secret had cleared a huge forest, creating a large open field that seemed to go on forever. The large white castle on the hill, with its black flag blowing in the wind, was easy to see. The Dragon King pointed to it. Is that your castle? Yes, it is. It's not very impressive for the Shadow Monarch. Jinwoo felt a little sorry for Baru for a moment, but he didn't say anything back. Jinwoo didn't trust how calm the Dragon King seemed. It was as if he wasn't worried at all. This place is just the right size for your tomb, the Dragon King said. Then, he looked directly at Jinwoo. The powerful being known as the Monarch of Destruction looked Jinwoo over carefully. He closed his eyes, trying to send a message to his followers, but he couldn't reach them. It seemed they were unavailable. Someone was using the Shadow Monarch's power to cast a spell that stopped all communication. The Shadow Monarch had definitely planned to keep him isolated. He opened his eyes and saw the entire Shadow Army moving toward him. The situation had changed, and now he was facing an army of tens of thousands all alone. The Dragon King was completely surrounded. So this is a fight to see if I can hold on until my soldiers find me. But the Dragon King didn't seem worried or scared. He liked winning battles with his strong army, but he also enjoyed being challenged. The Dragon King was created for war. He was a symbol of great power and didn't mind if fighting caused trouble and chaos. He even laughed at the thought of a big battle. Let me help. With that, his smile disappeared. Jinwoo's senses told him something was about to happen. He felt a sudden chill, and goosebumps covered his skin. The Dragon King let out a terrifying roar. Roar. It was a powerful roar that shook the entire Shadow Army. It shook the ground and the air around them. Noticing how scared, hurt, and confused his soldiers were, Jinwoo told them to come back quickly. A loud scream filled the air. Jinwoo felt lightheaded and his knees almost gave way. The Dragon King smiled as Jinwoo's face turned pale. This is what real power feels like. Jinwoo shook his head to clear his thoughts after feeling the dragon's powerful fear. The other monarch explained things calmly. I could have gotten free easily, but I was surprised you were able to trap me. Jinwoo looked closely at the unexpected praise. But the Dragon King was being sincere. That's why I wanted to talk to you. As one ruler to another, Jinwoo took a deep breath and stood up straight. The Dragon King continued speaking. Because you have the memories of the Shadow Monarch, you probably know our biggest enemies aren't here on this ground, but somewhere beyond the sky. He meant the rulers. Their only job was to destroy the monarchs, powerful beings born from darkness. The Shadow Monarch wasn't any different. He said, I was getting ready to fight the rulers after dealing with you. But after watching you fight, I've changed my mind. You have skills that are different from Ashbourne, and if you join us, I think we can win easily. The Dragon King held out his hand. If you shake my hand, I will do whatever you ask. Jinwoo looked at the hand that was offered. If you want your family to be safe, I will let them live. If you want to protect our country, then I will too. If you want me to go away, I will. Jinwoo slowly looked up at the Dragon King's face. The Dragon King seemed kind and gentle. You will be in charge of this land. You should lead the entire world, instead of just a small kingdom. You deserve this power, and all you need to do is accept my help. The Dragon King smiled kindly. If you help defeat the powerful beings causing trouble, then you, your family, your country, and everyone on Earth will find peace and be free. That was the Dragon King's promise. What do you say, Shadow Monarch? The offer seemed to make Jinwoo happy, and he smiled. The Dragon King smiled wider. Will you work with me? Jinwoo said clearly, yes, of course. The Dragon King looked angry when Jinwoo spoke to him. You want me to believe you when you seem ready to attack? Haha. Ahahaha. The Dragon King laughed loudly. His laughter was so powerful it felt like magic, and Jinwoo had to hold steady with each booming chuckle. When the Dragon King stood up straight, his eyes became cold, and looked like a reptile's. I guess I couldn't keep it a secret. Talking didn't work. If the Dragon King couldn't trick Jinwoo, he decided to defeat him with force. The Dragon King showed his real shape, and a strong, angry energy filled the air. Use all your power and fight me, strong warrior. Jinwoo's eyes grew wide as a wave of intense heat rushed toward him. He quickly moved aside and watched as something like a burning mountain appeared before him. The Dragon King really looked like a dragon made of hot, melted rock. It reminded Jinwoo of the fiery levels inside the demon's castle. It really felt like a battle between a person and a castle that was alive. Just seeing it would scare most people. But Jinwoo held his knives tightly. Stomp. Everything shook when the Dragon King stepped with one foot. Watch out. Jinwoo quickly moved to avoid being stepped on and called out for Kaisel. Screech. The winged beast flew up from his shadow, ready to fight, and Jinwoo jumped onto its back. Jinwoo guided the fast wyvern toward the Dragon King. The Dragon King was ready to use his powerful attack. Dive, as a bright light shot from the Dragon King's mouth. Kaisel quickly flew down, avoiding the flames. The scary white fire went right over Jinwoo's head. Boom, following Jinwoo's directions, Kaisel flew near the Dragon King, skillfully dodging the attacks. Whoosh, when the flames died down, Kaisel flew right in front of the Dragon King's face. Jinwoo focused his energy. Good job, Kaisel. Energy flowed into Kamish's wrath in Jinwoo's hand. Gathering dark power for the final attack, Jinwoo swung the dagger with all his strength at the Dragon King. The black energy, strong enough to destroy almost anything, split into several parts and hit the Dragon King on the head. But what? Jinwoo stared in disbelief as the attack didn't even leave a mark on the Dragon King's tough scales. Safe and sound, the powerful monster looked up at Jinwoo. The hunter frowned. More fire. Instead, a very loud screech filled the air. Graha. It was a frightening roar that made people afraid. Jinwoo was strong enough to handle it this time. But Kaisel stopped moving. Before Jinwoo could tell Kaisel what to do, He was hit by the monster's flames. Fu-whoosh. Even as Kaizel fell from the blast, he turned his body to protect his master from the fire, and pushed Jinwoo away from danger. No. Jinwoo cried out as he watched Kaizel turn to dust and disappear completely. Arg. Jinwoo bit his lip and used his energy to fly toward the monster's chest. He grabbed onto a large piece of the dragon to avoid falling, but it was very hot and burned his hand. Ouch! Jinwoo squeezed his eyes shut and lifted his dagger, Kanish's wrath high above his head. A dark energy flowed from it. The dagger poked into the dragon's scales, but it didn't do much damage. Crack, crack, crack. No matter how hard Jinwoo swung, he could only make small scratches on its tough skin.